Hello guys, this is going to be my 2024 house map prediction. I know there's a lot of toss-ups here, but we're going to be going through them all. So we're going to start off with the two states that are most likely to be redistricted. So we're going to start off with Ohio. Now, most of the redistricting maps, I've seen them fortify Ohio 13th as a likely Republican district, something that Trump won by a likely margin. And I also seen them fortify Ohio 9th to a likely Republican district. So even though Marcy Kaptur won in a Trump district, that Trump won by about 2.8%, I think it'll only be about a lean Republican margin. She's going to pull off a fight, but I still think she's favored to lose here. Really, it's going to be too Republican for her to win. I even seen some put it as a Trump plus 10 district in the redistricting maps. In Ohio first, I just think the Dem here is still going to win by a lean Democratic margin. Even with redistricting, there's really not much Republicans can do to fortify that district anymore. In North Carolina, they're also redistricting, and they're going to make a brutal gerrymander. They're going to turn the 14th district into a solid Republican district, the 13th district into a likely Republican one. Same with the 6th district. It's almost like safe to likely Republican. So we're going to lose. It's going to be around 3 Democratic incumbents just losing in all 3 of these districts. And in North Carolina's 1st district, it's going to be a swing district that slightly favors the Republican, but there is a Democratic incumbent here, so I do think they'll benefit and they'll still hang on here by a narrow margin. Okay. Now let's just start with Georgia's 2nd district. I think the Democrats will win here by a solid blue margin in a presidential year. In Iowa, Marionette Miller Meeks would probably win here. Let's just zoom in on Iowa, actually. So Ashley Hinson, she'll probably win by a likely margin because Iowa's going to keep drifting towards Republicans. This will probably be a tilt Republican margin as well. So they could win Iowa 3rd, but then again, that's only if Sidney Axtee runs again, and maybe she doesn't. I really don't know. In Missouri 2nd, this will probably be a likely Republican district. I do think the suburbs here would probably shift a bit more to the left, so that might help Democrats here, but they wouldn't flip the district. Kansas 3rd, Sharice Davids would probably win by a likely margin here, and maybe even by a safe one. We have to see. In Illinois, Lauren Underwood would only win by a likely margin, and in Illinois 17th, I just think it would also be a likely margin for the Democratic incumbents in the state. I think they'll perform well in Illinois in a presidential year. We'll start off with New England as well. I think they're all going to be likely Dem districts. I just don't think the presidential candidate for Republicans will be able to perform super strongly there. In Connecticut with Joanna Hayes, I think she wins by a likely margin again. Let's take a look at New York. We're going to get a zoom in on this state because it's a lot of competitive districts here. With Andrew Garbarino, he easily is going to win here. Same with the Zeldin seat. This incumbent here, I think it's, who is it? Leilota. They'll also win by a solid Republican margin. Same with the Staten Island district. Really don't see it as competitive anymore. New York 4th, I do anticipate it to flip for the Democrats, and same with Santos seat. I do think that'll flip as well. Molinaro will hold on by a narrow margin. Pat Ryan would win by a likely margin. In New York 22, he isn't really that much of a moderate Republican, Brandon Williams, so I do anticipate him losing by a lean D margin. Lawler, it's going to be a tilt seat either way, but I think it's a Biden plus 10 district. There's going to have to be a ton of ticket splitting for him to have a chance at surviving, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Okay, with Texas's seats, Henry Cuellar, he's definitely favored to win here. Same with the Republican in this district. It's just the southern part of Texas is slightly going to Republicans, which is why Texas 15th stays with them for now. In Alaska, Mary Patola, she's favored to win by a lean D margin. By all indications, I think Sarah Palin's going to try to run again. In Arizona, 2nd, let's take a zoom in on this state. Yeah, Arizona 2nd is going to be likely Republican, if not even solid Republican, honestly, but I'm putting as likely for now. David Schweihart, this is going to be the time he actually loses. He barely won last time in a red puddle. So I just think in a presidential year, Biden wins a popular vote by like 4 or 5%. Swihart's definitely going to lose. Cisco Maney is also going to narrowly lose here. I just anticipated he barely won last time. Arizona's only going to keep drifting more and more towards the Democrats. In the one swing district in Indiana, I think it's going to be likely D. In Michigan, I think most of the districts are going to be likely Democratic because of their incumbents. Let's get a zoom in on the smaller districts here. John James will probably barely win in Michigan's 10 like he always does. Yeah, he won by 2,000 votes last time. Democrats are definitely going to target this district, but I still think he's the incumbent. He's going to be favored to win here. And Slotkin's old district, well, indications he's running for Senate. So I do think Republicans are going to try to make a play to win over this seat, but they're going to lose it just because Biden's probably going to win the state by a decent margin. Okay, in Wisconsin's 3rd district, I just think Republicans are favored to win here currently. In Minnesota's 2nd, I think the suburban trend is just going to keep benefiting Angie Craig here. Let's go to in New Jersey's district with the Tom Keene. I think Malinowski might run again because he only lost by a narrow margin, and I do think he can manage to unseat Tom Keene, especially in a Democratic presidential year if they win. It's a Biden plus 4. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure it's a Biden plus 4 district, but yep, 4.5. It's going to be an uphill battle for Tom Keene to win, which is why I think he's currently not favored to win. Okay, so let's head over to Montana's 1st district. I think Republicans are just narrowly favored to win this district. Mexico's 2nd, Yvette Herrell's probably going to try to run again, but I think she's also going to lose again just because Democrats really gerrymandered the state pretty well. In Colorado's 8th, I think currently the Democratic incumbent here will be able to win here. Gareva won by about a 1.5% margin against Kirkmeyer before, so I just think they're probably favored to win, especially with how Colorado keeps trending Democratic. Boebert is in a whole heap of trouble right now, though. I really think it's going to be a very competitive race. It is a Trump 1 district by that much, but Colorado's getting bluer and bluer. So I just think that Frisch is probably going to be able to narrowly unseat Boebert in Colorado so far. Okay. So let's get a zoom in on Pennsylvania, then Virginia. All right, with Pennsylvania, Fitzpatrick, he's still going to win by a likely Republican margin, a very strong moderate Republican. Scott Perry's going to be able to win by a likely margin as well. I just don't think he'll be unseated as of right now in a presidential year. Maybe in the blue midterm wave or something like that, he could be unseated, but that's about it for that. PA 17th, it's a sufficiently won Biden district by about 6 points, so I just think Chris Deluzzo will hold this seat by a decent margin. Pennsylvania 7th and 8th, I still think they'll go to the Democrats by both tilt margins in a presidential year. It'd be very competitive, 2 seats, but I think Democrats will luck out and win both of them. In Virginia, Spanberger will probably win by a likely margin still, just because Biden will probably win the state of Virginia by 10 points, just elevating the Democratic candidates here. And even Loria, which she might run again for this seat, and I could think she could narrowly float back against Kiggins, just because Biden would probably carry her in this state, winning it by over 10. Okay, I think we've done the eastern side of America. Now we go to Nebraska 2nd. And honestly, Don Bacon, he might be the underdog at this point. I really think Democrats are probably going to manage to unseat him this time with Tony Vargas again. He barely won in 2022, plus with Biden winning the district by 6. I think Don Bacon's time in the House is going to be coming to an end soon. In Nevada, Democrats really did a great gerrymander in this state. They'll probably be able to win all these districts by likely margins in the presidential election, assuming Biden carries the state by a lean margin. All these districts will be likely. Okay, and with the western states, in Washington, I think Washington 8th will go to Kim Schreier by a likely margin. With the moderate Democrat in this district, I really think she's could pull a Mary Patola and win here. I think she'll definitely work on winning over those independents, and considering that the Republican that lost this district is really trying to run again for this district, Joe Kent. I just think that if he's the nominee again, he's going to lose again. Okay, let's get a zoom in on Oregon. Now with Oregon, the Democrats really luck out here. They'll probably all win by over 10% margins just because Biden's running in this state. But Kurt Schrader's district, Chavez Rimmer, could have a chance at winning. But I just think she's just a super big underdog just because Biden's going to be carrying the state by about 15 or 16 points. It could be even more than that in the state of Oregon. So with a lot of Democrat turnout, Republicans really aren't that favored in Oregon. All right, with California swing districts. Still think they'll win California's third. Trump won this district by about 2 before. So unless the Democratic trends keep going, plus it's a Republican incumbent, incumbency advantage is a real thing in California, so definitely benefit from that. Young Kim, again, even though it's a Republican district, she won by a very convincing margin before, so I just think it'll be likely Republican as of right now. Ken Calvert, he'll probably barely win here, but Democrats could definitely win this district over, especially if Biden wins the district at large. But still, again, incumbency advantage is a real thing. In Katie Porter's old seat, the Democrat replacing her will probably win by a likely margin, while Mike Yevon wins by a likely margin. Let's see here. Michelle Steele State, she barely won last time in 2022, which was surprising. So with higher Democratic turnout, I do anticipate her to lose by a very narrow margin against her new opponent, who honestly looks like a very serious threat. And she could very well unseat her, which I honestly see her doing. Okay, so with Mike Garcia, he's unbeatable. I just still think he'll hold on. Even in a district that Biden won by 12.7%, this district, California, just appears to be a very red down ballot. They love to split their tickets here, so I think Mark Garcia lucks into another victory here. In California 13th, this district barely flipped red last time, so I just think the Democrats are, with higher Democratic turnout, it's a very Latino district. I think they'll probably pull off a victory here in California 13th. Now, with David Valadao, he barely won last time, and with higher Democratic turnout, I do think he's going to lose. So, it's 222 to 213 again in the House. It's like the third time in a row it's this margin, 222 to 213. It just loves happening. But right now, I think this is the most likely scenario to happen for the 2024 House map, barring any redistricting changes that I didn't anticipate. But I think Ohio and North Carolina are definitely getting redistricted this way. But overall, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.